Hey guys, so we're gonna be streaming today, given the fact that we have a deadline looming above us. We're kind of approaching that sort of stage where, we're looking at the Spain lineup coming out, and we'll be looking at, any kind of amendments we'll have to make for our teams, kind of going forward for the tournament. So I'm just gonna be sitting here. It's gonna be a question and answer kind of session, a live stream for you guys. So if you guys have any kind of questions, if you guys want me to rate your teams as well, feel free to do that kind of by messaging me on a DM on Twitter. But interact with me in the comments. Really, any questions that you guys have right now. We can also discuss games like tactically, what we think is going to happen, what we think is going to happen further down in the tournament. If you guys need kind of any questions and answers regarding chip usage, strategy going forwards, we can also talk about that too. As you can see for this week, I'm planning to go with the Sarabia captain unless things change drastically. But we'll see what happens as we kind of move forward as well. All right, so let's just make a little tweet about the game and the stream going on right now. Hey Samarth, is KDB fit to play? I mean, that's a good question. I don't think there's been actually any update on news regarding Kevin De Bruyne's fitness. As you can see here, it's still in the balance. If we look at 49 minutes ago, I think predicted lineups, it does seem like most people do think he'll play or at least play 45 minutes, similar to how he kind of played for Finland, right? So those are my expectations as well. I do expect Kevin De Bruyne to play. I think he's quintessential, and I think the thing is Roberto Martinez hasn't expanded any more about his injury status over the last few days. He kind of said that De Bruyne and Hazard were both 50-50, and we haven't had really any updates since then, in terms of the kind of health of the Belgium team. I'm expecting in terms of players. I think obviously has like Thorgan Hazard is probably the most glued on attacker for that side. If Eden Hazard can't play, I'm expecting Carrasco will play. But I think, yeah, Kevin De Bruyne is quintessential to the game, and it kind of also impacts how people will pick Belgian players. But you're going to have to take the risk because you can't see the lineup beforehand. I mean, that's just the way how things are. But yeah, if you guys have, all right, let's see. So I think we've already had some kind of teams trickling in. What should I change? I need Sarabia to block 2 to 3 players in my league. I guess you mean just like to peg yourself with you'd probably want to. Let's see. So you have three transfers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 players knocked out. Your captain for today is Torres a good choice? I think if Ferran Torres starts, I think it'll be a really good pick, in my opinion. Let's have a look at this guy's team. Oh, I think this was a late team. So yeah, if you guys have any kind of questions in, is Kyer fit? I think he is. I don't think there was anything that pointed to him being injured. So in my opinion, you should pick Kyer if you want. Um, is the reason why you're asking if Kyrie's fit is because you're trying to double up on the Danish defense, or is there any other reason why you're going into Kyrie? I'll have a look at yours. Yep. No chips left. Had 6 eliminated. Minus 12 points. Not 100% too happy, but not too bad considering no chips left. Currently top of my league. Awesome. Yeah, I like Morata captain. That's quite a safe one, especially since you don't have other kind of Spanish midfielders, so it makes sense to me. And then obviously kind of betting on De Bruyne is a little bit tricky, nor do you have Munier. So I guess the only other captaincy pick I might think about is Spinazzola, but I'm actually tempted to say that the Belgians will win today so long as Kevin De Bruyne plays. But I think, I mean, you've already gone minus 12 for these transfers, or who are the people that you're transferring out there? You can send me your team on Twitter. So our Twitter is Total Tactics FB. And I can post it in the chat if you'd like. Jay, if you could just let me know who is getting transferred in and out. I just want, yeah, okay, yeah, makes sense. Thank you. Yeah, so you're just kind of going all English. Is there any kind of budgetary restriction as to why you have gone for Phillips? If I could ask. I feel like Phillips is probably could be arguably glued on for 3 points. Okay, fair enough. That makes sense. Because I was gonna say, in terms of someone who is quite cheap as an offense option, could be Damsgaard, but I know Damsgaard's price has kind of skyrocketed, so that probably doesn't fit you right now. In terms of other cheap options, of course, I think some Swiss players, but I don't really expect them to, continue winning. So yeah, I mean, I like the transfers so far. It makes sense. Some people have also been going for Maguire as well. Maguire being 5.5, if you know what I mean. Also, oh, also don't get Unai Simon because remember you're doubling up on keepers from the same day. If you need to replace Donnarumma, you'd like to replace him with another keeper. Do you know what I mean? You have two keepers playing on the same day, so that's not good. You need to kind of adjust that. Let's have a look. But yeah, anyways, just contact me, guy, on Twitter. Twitter is Total Tactics FB. You can drop me a private message and I'll respond to you there. Will cost me more points for me to get rid of one of them, though. Right. Oh, I see. So you've already confirmed that transfer. Okay. Okay, in that case, then it's not worth it. But as I said, I'm personally taking a big gamble this week. I've gone minus 16. Anyways, just to have some fun, because last week I didn't get to put my players on, so currently second in both of the leagues that I'm playing in with only 253 points. So I missed out on roughly 8 points last week. Kind of sad, but I mean, these are of course the picks that you guys want to be looking at if you still have transfers to make. Oh, that's all right, Jay. Yeah, I mean that happens, right? We all make mistakes. You sent your team. Now let's have a look at it. Actually, top of your league. Awesome. Need to win it to win a jersey. Nice. Let's try get you that jersey. Okay, so I just want to know who you're kind of. Okay, so I guess you're just bringing honestly 4 English players. I mean, I can't disagree with that. I think those are the 4 best English players as well, in terms of how much priority I think Pickford has over the keeper position. I feel like every keeper is in a sense under threat apart from Pickford. So I like Pickford there. I can't really say there's anything wrong because if those are your 4 transfers, I think it makes absolute sense to me. The rest of your team as well looks quite strong. Hopefully Chiesa starts as well today, but we don't know if that's going to happen. I like the Kyrie pick as well. That's what I actually started out with the tournament, a double Danish defense, and then obviously all the crazy things happen. I even had Eriksen captain on day 1. Hey Ahmed, how are you doing? Let's see, let's have a look at your team. John Stones, I like that, but as I discussed in the chat as well, Maguire is also slightly cheaper. And Maguire did look like, I think, the most composed player in terms of that English backline the last time they played. Now, of course, Stones we've seen already hit the post in the tournament, so I think both Stones and Maguire are fantastic options. But then, if we're talking English defense, I would probably still prioritize Shaw. I think in the last 3 games, Southgate has showed a lot of kind of preference for what he brings to the table offensively. And, when Sterling kind of moves inside as a forward, you need Shaw on the overlap. And we even saw him combining, I think, quite well with Grealish as well. You've used wild card. Ooh, okay. Let's think about your team a little bit more with the wild card. I think so yeah, I mean obviously let's wait for the Spanish lineup as well. If we go back to it. I think obviously Jordi Alba makes sense if he starts. I'm not so sure about doubling up on a Spanish defense because we've seen that even though the Spanish team has conceded very few shots, they've still conceded a few goals, a little bit disproportional, of course, compared to the rest of the teams in the tournament. So maybe if you could try change something there, I would do that. Obviously Simon probably makes sense. I guess my only other suggestion would be to maybe go Munier over Alba, but I think I wouldn't touch anything right now. I think this team makes a lot of sense for me. Seferovic, of course. I mean, you can transfer him out next week because you still have 5 transfers, so I don't really have any issues. And of course, you have Kane there. I'm just thinking if you might want to touch Dolberg or someone like that, but you already have Damsgaard in a sense, so you're quite deep into Denmark. I might just change Kyer if possible. I'm sure there's probably some budgetary restrictions as to why you don't have Kyer. I mean, why you only have Kyer. So I think this makes sense given the fact that you have actually managed to retain Kevin De Bruyne in the team as well. Let's have a look at Slim Face's team. I like this team. Looks very strong. Once again, of course, let's just wait for teams to start. Are you on a wild card, Slim Face, by the way? How many players, the most, do you think should we use from Italy-Belgium game? It will be a close one, so maybe 4 or 5 max. Greetings from Greece. Hello, I hope you're doing well there over in Greece. Greetings from London. Of course, even though I don't sound English whatsoever. I think personally, yeah, that's a tricky one, right? Because basically what we're saying is that we have 5 new transfers next week. So in theory, we don't want to have more than 3 or 4 players for one team because, there's probably going to be an upset. It could be that Denmark loses. It could be that Spain loses. It could be, even England that loses, right? Which is, I think, probably the least theoretical kind of option available. But, if you have 4 Belgian players, 4 Italian players, inevitably 4 of them are going to go, right? So I think ideally you want to have 3 Italians and 3 Belgians going into this match day so that you have at least 2 more options that are flexible that might come from upsets elsewhere. Even though I think the other matches are a little bit more lopsided, right? The Belgium-Italy game, of course, is the trickiest one because we think both teams are very strong. You want to have their players, but at the same time, ultimately, you're going to lose a lot of those players. So I would say 3 from each if you're on a wild card. But I think a lot of people went with 4 Italians previously, so you're kind of stuck with that no matter what. It doesn't make sense to transfer your Italians out now unless you have a wild card. And so, yeah, for that reason, I wouldn't go more than 3. If you could let me know what chip you have, Slim Phase, and we can kind of discuss your team a little bit more. Let's go back to the comments a little bit. Kyer out, then whom should I put in? And if I take out Unai, any suggestions? I mean, I think, do you know how much budget you have left? If we take out, or if we keep the current structure you have in place? Samarth, what's your Gmail account? I will send my team. You can find our Gmail account on our YouTube channel. So if you go to, I think YouTube, and you go to About, you'll find our email address here for business inquiries, and I can probably respond. I just don't want to kind of share it too much so that we don't get spammed unnecessarily by email. Should I transfer in Sterling or Grealish? I think Grealish is a clear differential, and but I do think the kind of logic where people say, "Oh, Sterling scored too many goals. He's not going to score again." I mean, that's ridiculous, right? I think you can see he's quintessential to the English attack. I think you want to think about that the budget difference and what that can kind of provide to your team if you bring Grealish on, because I think it's possible that Grealish plays, but I mean we could once again see him being reduced to being a substitute, right? And whilst he might get an assist, I think Grealish is probably not going to get you a goal, and I think for that reason Sterling is definitely better than Grealish, just one for one. But it's not always like that, right? It's about, can you upgrade any other people if you're going into Grealish? 0.8 in the bank. Okay, so that means that you actually have quite a bit to upgrade your defense. I think the reason why I suggest not going for Kyer is because Kyer obviously is extremely well priced, but the thing is you already have Mala, who's the most offensive kind of Danish defender, right? And then you have that kind of return potential from him as well. Um, so like, if I just sort by price, actually. You could think about, let's have a look at your team again. Thanks for comment. All good, thank you. It's not crazy to me, but you could go 5 up on England, but that is a little bit mental as well, even when I say that to myself. Um, I think there's a potential that Alba might not play. We'll see what happens there with his injury news. I think maybe you at least swap Kyer with potentially. Hmm. There's a possibility too that you could go for Eric Garcia, actually, if you do trust in the Spanish defense, and then maybe you could switch your keeper into someone like Courtois. That's crazy, but I think. Let me see how much is Kyer priced. I also like maybe going for a Czech defender as well. I think the Czech defenders have been really strong in this tournament in terms of Sufal and Holes. They've had fantastic returns, and given the fact that you have 5 free transfers next week, you could maybe think about that kind of differential there. Spain team confirmed. All right, guys, let's have a look at the Spain team together, and then I'll respond to your email. So if we just look at Spain here. All right. If someone could tweet me the Spanish lineup, that'd be quite helpful. But let's see if we have anything. Okay. I'm not really sure. I would go with Sarabia, personally. I think Sarabia has been involved in a bit more just in terms of goals. Morata actually drops quite deep to build up play, and therefore the winger is actually allowed to bomb a bit more forward in terms of Spain. I think Morata is the safest option. I think he's like, kind of solid for 1 goal. It sounds crazy to say, but I think that makes sense to me. Um, so I'm going to quickly just check my email on another tab, and I can kind of respond to your team. All right, let's respond to your team, Samarth. So, yeah, honestly, I think that team is super solid. I honestly don't see any weaknesses with it. The only thing I'd say is I think almost everyone has a similar team. You have very, very strong keepers, of course. Perhaps the only question I would say is, do you want to consider maybe just one differential? I'm not sure. There's Seferovic, of course, that people have been picking. To kind of hedge against Morata. And then there's obviously other options in terms of perhaps even Dolberg from Denmark, if you're very confident about the Danish win. The only reason why I say that is because I think your team is super similar to everyone else's, and there are, of course, all the overdog picks. But then again, at the same time, sometimes playing safe in itself is a good differential. So I think if you watch the team so far, like I personally think Spain will win, so I wouldn't pick Seferovic. So I think your team's very solid, to be honest. So once again, it just comes down to how you feel about it. Let's see if anyone has kind of messaged on Twitter. Saronic Samaya has kind of commented here. Use the wild card here. Have 6.2 mil remaining. Okay, well, let's definitely think about how you can spend that money as well. Probably replace the Swiss defender. I think, honestly, in terms of Switzerland, I would only really touch Zuber and Seferovic. If you're really feeling ambitious, then go Shaqiri, but I personally don't love Shaqiri that much. I know you have quite a few differentials here. Are you kind of catching up a little bit, Ronik, in terms of points? Is that why you have a kind of slightly different team, I would say? Because obviously I would say you have roughly three differentials here. I think Chiesa will play. I have taken a -16 hit, yeah, just for fun, so I can kind of support the teams that I like in this tournament in terms of Spain and Belgium. But I don't recommend going -16. I recommend trying to get as close to a starting 11 as possible. I actually think that if you can field a full starting 11 without making any transfers, it makes the most sense to me. You don't want to really drop points. There are not many players who actually can kind of get you returns more than 8 points, right? So for every like 2 to 3 players. So it doesn't really make sense to go any more than minus, I think, 8, in my opinion. Second in the league, a few points off first. I think maybe you want to cut down on one differential. I think you could potentially have another English defender, in my opinion. Ronick. Those are my opinions. Chiesa plays. I think you could potentially drop Chiesa if you think Belgium is going to win. Any suggestion? I have both wild cards. Any suggestions for my limitless dream team? Um, okay. Should we try kind of like build a dream team right now? I suppose. I think if you're going for a limitless, then I think Kevin De Bruyne makes sense because right now there's not many premium picks. You know, for example, I'm scared. I would be scared to pick Lukaku this week if I was being reasonable. I obviously have not been reasonable. That's why I've gone -16. Shaqiri's, I think, quite ambitious. I think Shaqiri's done very poorly versus good defenses. And I wouldn't say Spain have a good defense, but they have a very structured team. And I would say the same is, you know, for example, like Shaqiri didn't do very well versus Wales. The only great game he had was versus Turkey. And honestly, if you watch Turkey during this tournament, they were one of the worst defensive teams by far. They failed to kind of implement an offside trap, which is a very, very basic kind of defensive scheme. You know, so like they were very poor this tournament. I think you have Sterling and De Bruyne, those make sense, undoubtedly. I think you have to go Pickford. I would probably go with Donnarumma, honestly, and Courtois if you're going limitless. Defenders, I think you just kind of go all out with fullbacks. Go Jordi Alba if he starts. If another differential to Jordi Alba, of course, is going Azpilicueta, but I love Shaw and what he represents this tournament. Potentially another English defender. I think maybe instead of Stones we go Maguire still. Spinazzola makes sense. Mala makes sense as well. If I can find Mala. Apparently I am completely blind. Yeah, so Mala makes sense. And I think we have one more defender. I'm tempted to say go Munier, just so you kind of have the fullback experience. But that's your choice. You could also potentially go with another Spanish defender if you think Spain can kind of keep a clean sheet, because right now the Spanish defenders, in my opinion, are actually kind of making some very good deep lying runs for the team, especially from what we saw from Azpilicueta last week in the kind of structure that he plays. And I think the Swiss team does overcommit some people forward. So, for example, when you watch Swiss play, someone like Mbabu actually pushes very, very far forwards, and they can get collapsed, you know, on the counter, which also means that late runs are very helpful to a team. I think we don't touch keepers. Other midfielders, I do kind of like Thorgan Hazard potentially this week. Probably Insigne I would pick over, because I do think Insigne can actually run in behind the Belgian defense, which I think is one of their key weaknesses. I don't really see a cross really affecting the Belgian defense. I think Kane makes the most sense. Since you're going limitless as well, I think you could potentially go Schick, because even if you think he'll get eliminated, like he could get 1 or 2 goals, right? Even if they concede. And I think Denmark have been pressing very hard. Otherwise, I mean, Dolberg becomes a very interesting differential, and you don't have to stick with Dolberg either because it's just a limitless, right? So that's an interesting option as well, in my opinion. And then I would obviously probably round it out with someone like Morata, I think. We haven't gone for Spanish midfielders here, so that's the other alternative, right? So we have one more midfielder. I would probably pick Sarabia over Ferran Torres because I think he's a bit safer in that sense, and like he's good for like a solid amount of guaranteed points. But that's what I would kind of look at roughly. Let's see if anyone has kind of tweeted recently. So Zach has tweeted his team. Let's also kind of look at some comments too. So Martha, I've actually responded to your team, by the way. I just wasn't looking at it in front of camera because I didn't want to show people my email. But as I said, like your team is extremely solid in my opinion. I think your team is very safe in the sense that I feel like there's no differential. That's why I said the only suggestion I would make is that maybe think about one differential. No worries, no worries. Who do I suggest for captaining? I mean, let's have a look at the kind of lineup for Spain once again after we look at Zach's team. All right, so Love Kane, love Sterling, love Sarabia. Chiesa is one person I might be thinking about a little bit. Potentially he could be changed, but I think you probably, yeah. I mean, I guess you're not too invested into Italian, so I think that makes sense. That's fine, and of course he kind of fits the budgeting structure that you have there. I really like this team, to be honest. And you even got Azpilicueta too, which is nice. Let's look at the Spanish team. So actually, I do like this team a lot. I would definitely sign off on that. Um, Let me see if I can find that Spanish lineup. If somebody could send me the link to the Spanish lineup, that'd be fantastic, please. Oh no, here it is. Here it is. Is this the team? Yeah, okay. I mean, I think this is the team that everyone expected, right? Um, I would choose Ferran Torres over Thorgan Hazard. That's my opinion. Um, Hi Anderson, how are you doing? Suggest you a captain as well. All right, let's go back to your team in a second. I like Sarabia as a captain, but I think I would say Ferran Torres is the highest risk, high reward player in the Spanish team. I think Sarabia actually gets a lot of touches, excuse me, and Morata sometimes drops very deep. So what you might see is that, for example, even though Morata drops into the midfield, the Spanish wingers sometimes will be the most kind of advanced players, and therefore they potentially have more chances, I think, before Spain builds up the play to actually score. Because we saw something, for example, like if you look at the Croatia game, look at the third goal that Spain scored. That comes completely from like a set piece where Pau Torres drops a beautiful diagonal to Ferran Torres. Like Morata's not capable of doing that, if I have to be completely honest. So Ferran Torres is like that kind of risky option that I think has better rewards. Morata is the safest one, but I think Sarabia is a mix of both. He's very reasonable to pick. I wouldn't touch a Belgian player here. Fine if I go Sarabia for cap. Yeah, I like Sarabia for cap definitely. So I mean, I think that's the Spain lineup that we all expected, right? Were you guys expecting anything different for the Spanish lineup? Let's also have a look at the Swiss lineup, but I mean, I think we're not too concerned with what Switzerland's gonna play. They're probably gonna play with the standard side that they have already had so far. Haven't really seen the Swiss lineup. Has that been out as well? But anyways, how are you guys doing so far in fantasy? Are you guys enjoying this one? Is this your first Euro Cup fantasy? Look at that. This is so sad. I was completely away in the week, so then I couldn't play these two players. Instead, I have to be stuck with these two guys. Oh well, at least Alba's playing, right? So we have that, and then we are captaining Sarabia. One last word on card change, please. Oh yes, yes, of course. Limitless advice. I like Insigne definitely more than Shaqiri. But that depends on whether you have like I think if you're looking for one differential pick in your team, then yeah, okay, it might make sense to go to Shaqiri. If your team's very like what we've noticed, I think so far, right, is that a lot of people have picked a very strong English kind of backbone. So like we're looking at players like Kane, um, Sterling, Shaw, Maguire slash Stones, and Pickford, right? So if you have that kind of base, and then you filled in with Spanish players, and you don't have any kind of differentials, then yeah, go for Shakira if you want. Um, awesome. Car change. All right, let's do that. So how much is Kyra costing us right now? 4.5 million. So if we just sort by price, basically anything up to 5.3 million, right? Let's just do 5.5 as a baseline. Honestly, I think you could maybe change Kyra for potentially a Czech defender if you think that's crazy, or even potentially even someone like Zinchenko who's at a crazy tournament. But it's only because I think you have the potential to put one kind of differential player on your team. Azpilicueta is also quite interesting as well to me, by the way. Azpilicueta is someone you can definitely go for. If you're feeling extra spicy and you want to go five English defenders, I mean, maybe even could go for Trippier, who could get a set piece return as well, if you think about it. Playing wild card, should I choose Sterling or Torres? I think Sterling makes sense because the English team probably have more chances of advancing. In my honest opinion, I think Spain will beat Switzerland. My personal opinion. Confused to choose Zuber or Shaq. So I think the reason why I suggested Zuber is because for a lot of people who aren't going limitless, you need to think about budget, right? So Zuber usually allows you to pick some better picks. So if we kind of look at like Zuber price wise, Zuber 7.1, Shaqiri 7.4. So there's a bit of flexibility there. Also, if we think about Shaqiri, like he actually hasn't done anything outside of that Turkey game. So, we had a clean sheet and assist in the Wales game, and frankly, that Switzerland game, I would say Mbolo was stealing the show in that game. Remember, it was kind of like it was just a set piece, right? So I feel like Spain is less likely to concede versus set piece, but I feel like Spain could concede an open play. And in terms of open play, I think Shaqiri's done well only versus Switzerland, and I think he's really struggled versus somewhat more structured defenses. I wouldn't say the French defending was good, but that already tells you how much, right? I think Zuber still had a higher impact in that game, in my opinion. Is losing -4 worth for an extra transfer? That depends. Who's your extra transfer going to be? For example, like I wouldn't go -4 to get a budget player in. If I could get a premium pick inside, then I would definitely do that. I like Luke Shaw more than Azpilicueta, but I think more people are gonna have Shaw. So if you want a differential, then go for Azpilicueta. Hopefully, no more upsets. Lol. There's definitely going to be an upset, at least one. Let's hope Spain doesn't get upset because I am Spanish, so I don't want to see that. Could you make a limits team, please? Yeah, let's go for it. Um, so with the limitless team, I think like we need to think about that English base first. I would pick Sterling like easily. I think with the limitless, what's interesting is you could probably go for a bit of a gamble. Like maybe Maguire is slightly better than Stones because more people have Stones. So you could go for that. You could even go for Trippier as well. Shaw, I think, is safe. So you could actually go for like a double English defense if you want. And then go for 5 English players, which is a bit crazy, but I think it is worthwhile. Because for me, this Ukraine side attacks a lot, and a team that can actually attack hard will actually provide a lot of chances versus them. So Sweden actually play very compact, but we're still able to get very good goal scoring opportunities, in my opinion, versus Ukraine. Playing wildcard, should I choose Sterling or Torres? I would go for Sterling. Chiesa, Sarabia, I would go for Sarabia. All right, let's have a look. I think Damsgaard might make sense, but we are limitless. So I'm going to hold him here as a budget pick. I like Insigne, personally. Obviously, his points has been a bit low this tournament. If we just sort by price, actually, be a bit better. So I like Insigne because I think he is the perfect type of threat versus this Belgian defense. Forward-wise, I think you could switch between like Seferovic or Schick or Morata. I like Sarabia as well for this match day. I think he makes sense. So we could drop Damsgaard potentially. We could go for probably Ferran Torres. Definitely just replace these two. I would then pick maybe between Alba and Azpilicueta. Alba is obviously someone that I think more people have. If we look at kind of selected by, so if we look at Azpilicueta, he's a bit of a differential. Do you see what I mean? So he's like 7% ownership. He's a bit of a differential there. Forward-wise, you could pick Morata, and then you could even go for someone like Dolberg, right? Let's just drop Højbjerg for a second. I like Dolberg. And honestly, I think because the first 2 games are a bit ugly, I think you go for Unai Simon if you're going limitless. Dolberg could be interesting because I think this Danish team attacks a lot, but let's remember that the Czech Republic have a very strong, solid defense. So, I mean, we could really kind of double up and go Seferovic and Morata, in my opinion. It's not too crazy. And therefore, we kind of hedge ourselves against Spain, even though we have 4 Spanish players. Oops, apologies about that. Midfield-wise, we have another pick to kind of go for. You could maybe touch on someone like KDB. I think if you're going limitless, like I think it's just there's so much value in just having Kevin De Bruyne as a limitless, because if you have it as a wild card and he's injured or something like that, then it's a little bit touch and go, especially if he might not play today. But I think just for a gamble for him to play 45 minutes, we saw what he could do versus Finland. So I would probably just change the Spanish defender here. That's how I'd go. How I would go with Limitless. Sterling instead of Forsberg for a -4. Um, I would definitely do that. I think so because Sterling is probably going to get a clean sheet. So at the very minimum, he's like 3 points. And we've seen honestly, like if you think about it, you're not even comparing the -4 to 2 points, right? A lot of people think 2 points is guaranteed, but if your team gets smashed, and we've seen it. We've seen a lot of teams score goals. I think the play in this post pandemic state with the players kind of being so tired and playing so frequently has meant that the kind of lines and I think the gaps in the half spaces in football have become exploited a lot more. And I think physical fitness is actually a key factor into why a lot of teams win nowadays. And for that reason, I actually think that it makes sense to think about upgrading and going for -8 potentially. But I wouldn't go any further than -8 unless you're in a really really sticky situation. I love Dolberg as a pick. I think he's a good differential for this week. Which combo do you prefer, Morata, Kane, F Torres, or Morata, Schick, Sterling? I prefer. That's a tricky question. I prefer the first option to be honest, because I do like Kane and Torres a bit more than Schick and Sterling. Is Chiesa going to start? We really don't know. What I can only say is that Mancini has preferred Berardi for a long, long time. So I would think about that, but then also consider that, of course, Chiesa has had two beautiful kind of substitute appearances, and maybe we could consider Chiesa starting. And another thing about Chiesa starting, or whether or not he doesn't start, is we've seen fantastic kind of play from him when he starts the game in the match day 3. Even as a sub, he looked very strong, and of course, he was quintessential versus Austria. Thoughts on, let's see, Lukaku for Dolberg and Limitless. I don't like Lukaku versus Italy. Lukaku has only ever scored one time versus Chiellini and Bonucci, and it was a penalty. So that's my. I know club football is completely different, but these are very solid defenders, positionally very aware. Lukaku is, of course, much stronger than both of them, no matter what, and he can kind of play towards his physical advantages. But I think Belgium need him to kind of run diagonally away to kind of pull players apart and break the Italian line. Otherwise, the Italian defense is very structured and very, very strong, in my opinion. Do I transfer in Fran, Torres, or Sarabia? I like Sarabia a bit more. We can have a look at your team in a second. Is Soufal a good option? Definitely Soufal is a good option. I don't really like the odds of Italy clean sheet, in my opinion. I thought that honestly, Arnautovic kind of provided a very very strong threat, versus the kind of Italian defense, and for me, like Lukaku is just like maybe like a 2-3 times better version of Arnautovic, right? Someone who's physical, can hold the ball up well, very good aerially. Of course, now you have to think about Chiellini coming back into the team, and that changes things a little bit more. But I still think, yeah, like they were struggling very much with what Arnautovic brought to the table, and therefore I think Lukaku is a big threat. And then, of course, Lukaku has slightly better players with the exception of Alaba, who is a world-class player, of course. Yeah, I like your team. Let's have a look at your team, Ronick, sorry. Just in terms of the upgrade. Okay, so you've gone for... Okay, so this is very, very, very kind of like prototypical lineup. As I said, I didn't want to scare you completely off picking for the differentials. Do you know what I mean? So you can keep one of them. So if you like Sudakov, then go Sudakov. But obviously, I think Sudakov is just budget, right? Or am I wrong? Or Sudakov is just... I can show my team, yeah. This is my team. Kane or Sterling. I kind of like Kane a bit more. Because I think the forwards are harder to pick this match day than the midfielders. I think there are some strong midfielders in this match day. Yeah, for budget. Okay, that's fine. I like your team, though, by the way, Ronick. So I would go for that. Soufal is an interesting option, by the way. Also, remember that Holes had a fantastic game playing on the left-hand side versus Denmark. And the reason why Holes is so good is because someone like Dumfries pushes quite far forward, and therefore Holes can run in behind. If you think about it, then in the Danish team, right, the left side is actually the side that attacks more as opposed to Dumfries. So if you think about it, the Danish team will kind of push forwards with Damsgaard and Mela, and then potentially someone like Soufal could run in behind. Of course, Soufal's not a fast player, but it's more the fact that positionally he will potentially have to play higher up, even just to defend. um, and then kind of transition. So if that's how the Czech kind of play, you know, in terms of countering based on, I think like positional like outnumberings, then potentially Sufal is an interesting option. And of course, Sufal has the set piece threat as well. Where do you send me your team? So yeah, you can send me on Twitter, guys. Your teams. Let's have a look at some people's teams. Will Shaw start for sure? I'm not sure Shaw will start. I wouldn't bring Pau Torres. I don't think he's sure to start. He's not even starting for Spain, so uh, we need to watch out for that. Sorry, let's have a look actually at Spain versus Switzerland very quickly so we can show everyone the lineup. So sorry, Pau Torres is starting, but I don't like Pau Torres's offensive return. So like even in the attacking system in Spain, right? What happens is Laporte is the one who carries the ball forward, and he looks for a kind of offensive pass. I know Pau Torres got an assist off of a set piece, but that doesn't happen often, right? Like it's you can't expect the defender to kind of throw in a lobbed pass like super far. And I think Pau Torres has no set piece threat, whereas Stones and Maguire have a set piece threat. So I kind of like the English defense doubling up on them. I would probably go for one in terms of like Shaw or Trippier if you think Trippier is like a very like interesting pick. But remember, Trippier is obviously more prone to rotating, especially if they move to a back four. So I kind of like Luke Shaw and Maguire, I would say. And then I would think about Pau Torres again. Maybe you could go into Apilicueta if you have a little bit of money to spare. Ayush, let's have a look at your team. This is with Limitless. All right, let's have a look at Oliver's team. Yo, that's a very strong team for sure. So of course Shaqiri becomes your differential, which I kind of like. I think this is a very strong team, to be honest. I would only maybe think about Lukaku potentially. I don't really know if he's going to have a very strong game. I think a lot of people are hyping Lukaku to have a strong game. I have Lukaku in my team, but not because I really believe in him in this particular fixture, but because I think Lukaku is someone I'm supporting with in terms of Belgium. But you could potentially swap your differential to be maybe Seferovic, I think, over Lukaku, and then go for someone like Kevin De Bruyne instead. But that's your choice. I think your team is very strong. I like the fact that you're one differential, and I think the rest of the team is very safe. It's strong. So yeah, I do like it. All right, let's have a look at Alejo's team. Once again, Shaqiri as well. I like. Yeah, you'll probably find that I'm one of the few people who doesn't like Shaqiri that much. Like for this match day, I just feel like when I've watched him play in Switzerland so far, this he hasn't really impressed me too much. I think he's had very few touches, and I think we can even look at that too. Like first in the game versus France, right? Switzerland versus France, who scored? So I like looking at kind of like who scored as well, looking at the website and seeing like how active players are. Because if you think about it too, like tactically. Spain play in a very kind of similar formation to France. France kind of have like a false, 4-4-2, but it's actually a 4-3-3. This is actually a completely. Is this the right game? All right, because they've showed the players at the end. So yeah, I think if we look at Shaqiri, he had very very low possession as well in the match. Had very few touches. His heat map as well. This is something I like looking at too. Very deep because I think he was struggling to get onto the ball. Someone like Zuber, much more active in the field. Even though Zuber plays a very like defensive position and Shaqiri's free to roam, I liked how strong Zuber was as a constant threat on the left. But that's just my personal opinion. And also thinking about the way Spain conceded, a lot of the attacks that Spain were conceding from was from Azpilicueta struggling to deal with his counterpart, right? So Orsic was doing extremely well versus Spain. Is it worth to sub in Sterling for De Bruyne take up? No, it's not worth to do that. I would never sub in a player who could potentially play. So you should only really be subbing eliminated players. Yeah, I really like this team, to be honest. So Kalas and Seferovic are kind of your differentials. Ambitious, I'd say, but I do really like it. Yeah, I do like your team. All right, let's have a look at Luke's team. Luke. Okay. Very strong team once again. Very, very strong team. Are you keeping Højbjerg for his attacking returns, or do you have the option to change Højbjerg? Because I think if you can change Højbjerg, that's the only person I would change, potentially. I feel like basically what happened is Denmark changed into a back three, and that's kind of reduced Højbjerg's attacking involvement in the game a little bit more. What they've probably transitioned into is trying to work their attacks off of the wings. Let's have a look at Brainless Capital on a wild card 3-3 in the bank. Change Grealish. You could change Grealish. Can you afford Kevin De Bruyne if you go? Ooh, interesting. You've gone for double Spanish defense. Do you like the Spanish defense actually versus the Swiss today? Because I feel like it's a bit odd that you've gone for double Spanish defense and then a Swiss attacker. So I think you might want to reduce the Spanish defender so you can kind of upgrade maybe Kevin De Bruyne into, sorry, as in go for Kevin De Bruyne as an upgrade. Do you think Fran Torres is a good option? I like Fran. Honestly, I think all three Spanish attackers that everyone is picking, Morata, Sarabia, and Ferran Torres are all great returns. I don't actually think there's one specific bad pick. Like what we've seen with the Spanish team so far is they create chances from many different scenarios and they have many different ways of kind of breaking teams down in the phases of attacking play. And for that reason, I actually like all three picks. So if you want to go for Ferran Torres, I think he's a good pick. Gone for attacking returns, thinking no CS was attack edge. Interesting, yeah. No, I mean that's fair enough. That's fair enough. I would only say, yeah, I think England obviously have the clear best defense in the tournament. So only thing I would consider, maybe 3 English defenders. But it could be a bit too crazy for you, so maybe skip that. Zero transfer remaining, any changes? 0 transfer remaining. By 0, I guess you mean like 0 free transfers remaining? If that's the case, then I think your team is very solid, to be honest, because you're not going to change any of these other players. I think it makes sense. I like the team, and obviously you're saving points as well. Let's have a look at Luke. 1.1 to play with. What do you think? I would change Højbjerg into Damsgaard. That's all I would do. Let's have a look at other people's teams. 4 minutes ago, goal hanger. Like the team, by the way, got Limitless Ship. Maguire, yeah, exactly. Maguire's another good pick, because think about it. A lot of people have John Stones, but not many people have Maguire, so Maguire's interesting in that sense, especially if he can score from a set piece. Both of them can, by the way. But I do like Maguire for the fact that he's picked by a few less players, and then you can kind of rise up the rankings a bit more, right? Schick is definitely interesting, so he's kind of like your clear differential from the other players who I think you've picked are clearly like overdog players, or at least Belgium-Italy players where we can't really pick a team definitively. So I like the team. Let's look at Abhishek's team. Ooh, okay. Very, very strong differentials here. Are you chasing up a lot of points? This is very, very differential heavy. I mean, a little ambitious, I'd say. Like maybe Højbjerg and the other Danish defender I would maybe not look at. Like I think you have to go Mala, because like if you watch the way the Danes attack, they really don't attack through the right at all. They have almost Braithwaite as their forward, but he actually drops into right wing, which actually tells you a little bit more about the way the Danish play, right? They play with it's asymmetrical basically. So you have like Mala almost moving into a left mid position, and he's like clearly orchestrating attacks in a triangle with Dolberg, Damsgaard, and Mala. So I think just I would worry about that. Also, like Yarmolenko versus the English, I'm really not sure if he's going to be able to do anything. I like Zinchenko as a differential pick. It could be quite interesting. Because it could be like a low-scoring game, and Zinchenko has had great returns in the tournament so far. I mean, at least in the previous game for Sweden. And yeah, I think you might want to reduce 1 or 2 of your differentials. But I like how ambitious this is. I don't like Poulsen, by the way. I don't like Poulsen. I prefer Dolberg. In my opinion, if you were to pick a Danish forward, would you change the captain? Let's have a look. Yeah, I mean, definitely change the captain. Remember to pick a player from day one. Pick either Sarabia, Torres, or Morata. Or if you really have a lot of faith in Belgium, then pick Lukaku. But personally, I would go one between the 3 Spanish attackers that you like. Grealish or Sterling. I think Sterling is better. I think he's more pegged on to start. We don't know if Grealish will start. So that's my opinion. Awesome, Luke. Limitless, by the way. Let's have a look at Johan's team. Strong team. Obviously, a little bit Italy strong. Courtois is nice. This is probably like some sort of... Is this a Limitless team or... Otherwise, I think this team is very, very strong. Of course, you have that differential with Schick as well. I do really like Dolberg, by the way, guys, if you're thinking strikers. And especially like if you don't have like a limitless or something like that, then I think Dolberg makes sense because I'm tempted to say that Denmark will probably go through first. Um, so I kind of like Dolberg, and honestly, his performance last week was insane. I think Insigne will definitely start. I think there's been no rotation threat for Insigne, but there's been a rotation threat for Berardi instead. So that's my personal opinion. I think you could swap between both. Who do you guys rent to captain today? Is Morata bad? Is Morata bad? Morata isn't great at finishing, but he contributes a lot to the Spain team, and he actually has had the most chances given to him to score by the Spanish team. So if you think he has confidence, based off the fact that he scored in extra time and he has a lot of confidence from his teammates and his coaching staff as well, then Morata's a good pick. If you have 11 viable players, do you lose money for bench players? No, you don't lose money for bench players. Don't transfer too much. If you have 11 players to play, try to stick with that. Don't go -4. Don't go -8 unless you don't have like that full starting 11. Poulsen was rested against Wales and is currently having 2 goals in 3 games. So wouldn't Poulsen be an interesting differential? Just a question. I don't disagree with you. I mean, I think I actually thought about going Poulsen at the start of the tournament, but from what I've watched from the Danes and also my personal opinion watching Poulsen in Red Bull Leipzig, I don't think he's a fantastic forward. And I think Dahlberg's performance in 90 minutes versus Wales was literally better than any Poulsen performance I've seen so far in the tournament. But that's my personal opinion. Poulsen is definitely, I mean, they're both differentials, right? I mean, not many people are going to go for a Danish forward. Invincibles, let's have a look at your team. Nice Mason Mount profile picture, by the way. I like the team, honestly. Of course, very strong kind of English backbone. Not surprised. 5 Englishmen, I think, makes sense. Obviously, you have to worry, like, you know, if the craziest shit happens, we're not going to see, like, that's all your 5 free transfers gone. But, I mean, like, I think, you know, England is probably one of the more safer picks to go through. Your captaincy is quite safe. It makes sense. I still like the punt on De Bruyne. Yeah, I think this is a very solid team. And to be honest, very similar to most teams that you'll see. And keeping the English centre-backs is interesting. Perhaps you want to go for maybe one English kind of attacking defender as well. Slightly more attacking. No foul. Strong team once again. And you have the full starting 11, so that's fine. Yeah, I like this team. I'm a little bit worried about Berardi, even for myself as well, because I have Berardi too on my team. But I think this makes sense. I would only consider maybe Pau Torres. Can you change him to someone else? Is that possible, or is that like a budget restraint? All right, let's have a look at S6's team. Any no-go? I don't think anyone is no-go in the team you've selected here. I think this is a very strong team. All right, let's talk a little bit with the chat. I'm confused between Insigne and Yarmolenko. I mean, Yarmolenko, you know, you're kind of almost gambling there, in my opinion. But if it works out, I mean, you could leapfrog a lot of people. And of course, Insigne could get... I mean, both players actually have the potential to get knocked out, right? But I think, like, when you think about it, I think, like, even if Italy get knocked out, even if Ukraine get knocked out, who's probably likely to score more goals? I think as a team, I think Italy are probably more likely to score more goals. And I think Insigne will contribute a bit more. How many points do I have now? Just only 253. So basically what happened last week was I was away just due to some family business, some family issues, so I couldn't change my team, and that's why I have Højbjerg and Spinazzola on the bench. So as you can see, huge mistake there. But I mean, that's why I'm here, so that you guys don't make mistakes. But unfortunately, I wasn't available around the computer last week, so I couldn't do anything. So sorry, which country are playing soon? Spain is actually playing versus Switzerland in 35 minutes. What Spanish player to captain? I like Sarabia. I think Morata is the safe option. Ferran Torres is the highest potential. Damsgaard is definitely better than Højbjerg, in my opinion. Shakira or Damsgaard, definitely Shakira. So I think Insigne is more safe than Chiesa. Yes, I do. Please help, stuck here. Okay, Morata, Sarabia, and Sterling or Kane. Torres, Sarabia. I like Kane, Torres, Sarabia. Vermaelen, Soufal, Alba, Shaw. I think Soufal is a clear differential there. In terms of attacking output, I like Alba. Like, just in terms of someone who's safe. Worth it to take -4 to add a sub. If, like, okay, I think you can go -4 to get a sub if you think that sub is like a premium. Like, for example, like, if you're bringing in Kane as a sub, then obviously 100% go ahead and do that. I didn't hit wildcard now. I hit wildcard earlier on in the tournament, but I mean, if you want to discuss wildcard, I'm happy to do that. How confident in the four Spains? I'm Spanish, so that's why I'm extra confident in Spain. But if it, like I'm telling you guys, if you want to pick a team to go 4 players, 5 players, it's England, to be honest. Even though I prefer Spain personally, just due to my personal preferences. I've also gone for some Belgian players because my close friend Mehdi is Belgian, so I wanted to kind of support him and the Belgian team. Should I take the risk to captain Seferovic? I mean, this is like, think about it, right? You still have a day 2 pick. It's probably going to be an English player who will probably get 1 return. So that's kind of like your safe option, right? Going for an Englishman on day 2. So if you want to go for a risk, yeah, maybe Seferovic is a crazy risk, but do you really see Seferovic scoring 2 goals versus Spain? Maybe why don't you go for like a defender, right? Maybe like someone like Spinazzola who could actually, I don't know, maybe potentially get a goal versus Belgium, and maybe if Kevin De Bruyne doesn't play, then he could get a clean sheet as well. I think a lot of people have paid off or have gotten payoffs, from captaining defenders so far in this tournament. Is it worth losing -4, -8 points to get English players? Yes, in my opinion, that's the case. I agree with that. So Rabio Torres for captain. Let's think about the kind of I actually like Torres as a captain. So if you think about it, Mbabu is the one who kind of pushes forward a little bit more for that kind of Swiss side, and I think he leaves some space in behind that I think the Spanish team can exploit. So I do like maybe Torres potentially. Can I see Twitter? Yes, I can see Twitter. I took -8 for that. Power Torres was my oh, okay, that's fine. No, it makes sense. And to be honest, Power Torres is starting, so that's good for you. I like the team though. Otherwise, so good job there. Let's have a look at some teams, guys. Shaqiri or Chiesa? I mean, guys, I already answered the question. It's Shaqiri. Oh, see, I thought this guy was saying Shakira. So obviously I would have picked Shakira, but it's Shaqiri, so I don't know about that. Shaqiri or Grealish? I would definitely go for Stones over Grealish because I think Stones is more nailed on to start, and 6 points for a defender is super worthwhile. All right, let's have a look at reignites. I'm first right now and on a wild card. Yeah, I think if you're first, like it makes sense to play it safe, and you have such a strong team. Like I 100% sign off on this team. Only question I'd say is maybe like Schick. Do you want to change it with someone else, or but otherwise like I like Schick as well. Keeping limitless for semis. Interesting. Is there a reason why you're not keeping limitless for the finals? Because it might be really hard to create a final team if you're going limitless in the semis, or do you have a wild card for the finals? Otherwise, honestly, I think this team is very strong, especially since I guess you haven't transferred many players out. Yeah, like the team. Good captaincy as well, makes sense. Let's look at Jamie Connor's team. Is Morata the best captain choice? I think he's the safest one. I think he's probably good for 1 goal today. I think Sarabia and Torres might give you more returns, though. That's just my honest opinion. Either way, you kind of cover with like a Kane captaincy or Sterling captaincy. You're on wild card. Let's have a look. What would you change? I might change Lukaku potentially, but I know a lot of people have a big preference for Lukaku. Potentially Trippier. Maybe I'd go for Shaw. I really don't know if Trippier is going to start versus Ukraine. That's the only thing I would say. Otherwise, I think the team looks solid, and you have 1 differential in Shaqiri, which I like. That's a good hands team. Torres or Sarabia? Torres or Sarabia? Are you talking about captain? I think Sarabia, regardless of price, in my opinion. Schick plus F Torres or Morata plus Grealish / Shaqiri. I like Morata. Maybe Schick and Torres. Munier or Alba? I think I like Alba a bit more. Is Shaw and Insigne worth going for -4? I think Shaw is worth going for -4. Dolberg or Poulsen? I like Dolberg more. Maguire or Shaw or Stones? I like Shaw and then Maguire and then Stones in that order. I think it's worth losing points, but who are you replacing though? You need to also let me know who you're replacing for those players. The players to get for England, of course, are like Sterling and maybe another central defender. So, like someone like Shaw, who's not a central defender, sorry, but a fullback. Is 5 Spanish players safe? No, it's not safe at all. But I admire it and I respect it. Will Grealish start? I think he has potential to start, but once again, I'm tempted to say no. He hasn't started any of the games. Maguire for Dumfries and Forsberg. Yeah, I think you can do that. Definitely take a hit for that. Definitely take a hit for that. Who should be captain in tomorrow match? I'm tempted to say Kane, actually. Sounds a bit crazy, but I like Kane. Lukaku or Schick? Maybe Schick. Schick would be a better differential, in my opinion. Schick, Kane, Lukaku is a very strong front line. For Spanish, yeah, I'm Spanish, so I've gone for 4 Spanish. It's a bit crazy, but yeah. But I mean, I've always given people the advice, like, if you're gonna go 5 players, 4 players, choose the English national team first. I've only gone for 4 Spanish players because I'm Spanish. I was leading by 10, now took -4.5. Kane, Morata, Sarabia, KDB, Berardi, Sterling, Swina, Shaw, Mela, Simon. I would take a -4 potentially for Maguire. Because like the way I see it is Maguire's the strongest to get above 6 points, or like just about 6 points. So that kind of offsets the -4 in my opinion. Let's have a look at Hamza's team. Yeah, I mean, I get it. So yeah, you could maybe replace Chiesa if you want. How much money do you have to replace Chiesa with though? Morata or Sarabia captain? I'm tempted to go Sarabia. I've gone for Sarabia captain. But I also really like Ferran Torres captain as well. I'm Indonesian, so got no players in the Euro, sadly. No, yeah, okay, that's unfortunate. How's the Indonesian national team doing in the Southeast Asian kind of qualifiers and stuff like that? What English players to take a negative hit for? I already have Stones and Kane. As I said, I like Shaw and I like Sterling as well. If you're talking about additional English players. Also, think about Pickford as well. Because a lot of people lost keepers in the tournament, right? So it makes sense for me to actually go for someone like Pickford. Because when we think about it, the rest of the games for all the keepers are very tough. I think Pickford is the only person who's kind of glued on for a clean sheet. Is Grealish expected to start? I think Dolberg should start, in my opinion. Like, I feel like it would be crazy as a coach to not play Dolberg in the next game. If he goes for Poulsen, in my opinion, he's a fraud, but maybe he goes for Poulsen. These are both players who can get rotated, right? I would go Damsgaard over Chiesa, personally. Is Grealish expected to start? Sorry, I've already answered that. So yeah, I think Grealish less so. I think Dolberg more likely. Kane, Dolberg, Torres, Sterling, or Kane, Lukaku. Sorry, let's have a look. I prefer Kane, Ferran Torres, and Sterling, and Dolberg. Because I think Højbjerg is less likely to get points. A fraud, lol. I swapped Kane for Depay. Now I'm short 0.1 mil, which I could have swapped out for Benzema. Oh no. Yeah, you gotta look. You gotta look at that next time. I'm sorry about the Indonesian national team as well. That's unfortunate. Do you support a specific Euro team? Will Luke Shaw start? I am 80% sure he starts, but I have no I have no connections to the English national team or Gareth Southgate, so don't hold me to that, please. Alba starting. Yeah, I like Luke Shaw more than Alba, even though I have Alba in my team. I have both actually. Insigne or Ferran Torres? Tough question. I like Ferran Torres a bit more. For captain, Morata, Sarabia, or Alba? I like Sarabia. Yeah. I'm tempted to really change my captain to Ferran Torres. Is anybody going Ferran Torres over Sarabia, or are people more likely to go for Sarabia? You have 700k left. Okay. Let's see. So you have like 7. That's like 7.7, right? You could maybe drop Schick into someone like Seferovic or Dolberg, and then you can upgrade Chiesa to someone else. That's the only other alternative. Otherwise, I actually think your team is very good, Hamza. Let's look at Shishi's team. Once again, safe team. You guys really like that Shaqiri differential, huh? But I mean, good luck with it, because it makes sense, of course, if you're going to have one differential to have someone like Shaqiri or someone like Seferovic. But yeah, I like the team. It makes sense. Insigne, Ferran Torres, Stones, Maguire. I like Maguire over Stones. I like Ferran Torres over Insigne. This tournament will establish Fran. Yeah, I mean, I think it's a good chance because when you think about it, traditionally the Spanish team has, struggled with kind of keeping wingers in their team, right? Or like strong wingers, in my opinion. So, of course, it makes more sense to look at Ferran Torres as like a future kind of talismanic player for Spain because Spain have really lacked for like wingers as well. And he could also potentially grow into someone who's like a center forward, right? Because I think honestly his finishing is. I mean, we saw the hat trick right at the end of the season, but he's very underrated. I've got Shaw, but Ben Chilwell is in contention again. Yeah, but Ben Chilwell hasn't really been in contention even before he was in isolation. Do you know what I mean, Oliver? I don't know how you feel about that. I mean, I thought Ben Chilwell would probably get a chance to play, but it seems like I think Southgate prefers Shaw, especially since he like when he moved into a more kind of attacking game plan. When he moved out of Trippier versus Croatia, it seemed like he's kind of stuck with Shaw, even through a back five or a back four. Captain pick. I like Torres. Remember, Dolberg and Damsgaard play the next day, so you don't have to worry about them being a captain pick. But if you're picking between Dolberg and Damsgaard for the next day, then yeah, go for Damsgaard. I like Alba. I mean, Alba's in my team, and I think Alba has provided a lot of chances for Spain. But I'm worried about Spain keeping a clean sheet, and for that reason, I don't really like Alba that much. I think the forwards and the wingers have more chances to kind of create more points for Spain. Kesa versus Damsgaard. I like Damsgaard. I like Damsgaard a bit more, just a bit more. I can't decide, mate. Help me out. Dolberg, Kane, Sterling, or Kane, Morata, Grealish. Or I like the first option there. I like Dolberg, Kane, Sterling. It makes the most sense to me. And yeah, Shaw literally just assisted last game as well. So that's a huge thing. Like, for me as a manager, it's like Southgate seems to be the type of person where he says, if you prove it on the pitch, I'll rely on you, right? And or even in training. And I think there's clearly a reason why Shaw has been playing all these games, and I think there's no reason to stop if that makes sense. Like, think about it. Like, as soon as Saka had a good game, he played Saka the next game. And I think that's also my reason as well last week for suggesting that Grealish is a good pick, and he ended up becoming a sub and getting an assist, which is decent, to be fair. But yeah, I think, for example, someone like Grealish could be playing as well. Zuber, Shaqiri. A lot of people are going for Shaqiri, but my personal pick would be to go for Zuber. But I genuinely feel, and you could say that I'm biased, that I don't think Switzerland will do too much to Spain today. But I could look like an idiot, and you guys can roast me next week. Shaw, Maguire, Alba. I like Shaw. I like Shaw the most. If you would switch Alba, who would you go? Munier is a nice option. I like that. But I wouldn't switch Alba. I think Alba is a nice option to have. I'm just saying in terms of priority, I would like Shaw a little bit more. Sent you my team on Twitter. Would you check it out? Yeah, definitely I can. Let's look at Aditya's team. Sheikh Kane, Lukaku, Sterling, Sarabia, Damsgaard, Spinazzola, Stones, Mela, Alba, Schmeichel, bench, Simon Shaw. Honestly, that's a very strong team. Once again, I think a few people have rocked with Shaqiri. I would potentially go with someone else over Shaqiri, but that's my personal take. Lukaku as well, I'm a little bit worried with, and Schick. Perhaps another Spanish player somewhere in the midfield. You could go for Sarabia potentially over Shaqiri. But I know you're trying to kind of like diversify the team and make sure, just in case, if Switzerland play well, I guess you assume that Shaqiri does well too. So it's not too bad. I'm just worried that you might lose two forwards, right, heading into the next week in terms of Schick and Lukaku. So in that sense, I would like to trim one of them down to maybe Dolberg, someone like that, over Schick potentially. Have 1 mil left. Is the team good? Yeah, I like the team. It's a very strong team. And you have Shaw as well coming in. Not worth to go -4 as well. Not worth to go -4. I agree with that. I like it. Unfortunately, I can't get Shaw. I have a 6.0 budget for a -4 cost. Should I take Kyle Walker, Munir, Kalas? Why not? Maybe you could just go for the other centre back, right? Maybe you could go for Maguire because I think you said you have Stones, right? Could go for more Maguire. Yes, I have taken hits, but just for a little bit of gambling. I wouldn't go any more than -8, by the way. Who's captain? If not Shaqiri, then who apart from Sarabia and Ferran Torres? And when we're talking midfielders, I mean, you have potential of Insigne, but yeah, I think you can stick with Shaqiri if you want. I would stick with Shaqiri. Morata or Sarabia captain today. I like Sarabia a little bit more, just a bit more. Also, guys, if you're watching right now, it's your first time on the live stream. So the idea with the live streams is I'll kind of be looking at your teams, rating your teams, discussing the lineups as well, and things like that right before the match starts. But my opinion is that, our channel is kind of here to provide you with analysis on all the potential picks you have and why, and to kind of deliberate on a team that makes sense with budget. So I'll always be providing you things like spreadsheets on our YouTube videos, and then the live streams are a little bit more conversational, a little bit more lighthearted and funny. And of course, I'll answer any questions that you guys have. But if you guys can drop us kind of a like and a subscribe, check out some of our other videos, because we also do kind of tactical previews and tactical analysis of games as well, to kind of provide some insight as well. Yeah, I like Fran. Fran makes sense. -4 for Maguire, worth it. I think so, because as I argued, he has a strong potential to, I think, maybe score a set piece. I think Ukraine don't necessarily have the strongest center-back pairing, in my opinion. And 6 points kind of offsets the -4. But that's totally up to you. You know what I mean? If one of my defenders in my starting lineup is eliminated, should I take a -4? I think so, because I think there's enough good defenders, especially in the English team, to actually go for. Calvin Phillip's going to play. I'm sure he's going to play, but I mean, at the end of the day, he's a budget pick, right? Someone who could probably get you 3 points. Who to captain? Zuber/Insigne/Sarabia. Definitely someone between Sarabia and Insigne. Insigne or Ferran Torres. I like Ferran Torres more. Let's see if anyone has sent any kind of Twitter teams as well. But yeah, if you guys have any other teams to kind of send for me to rate as well, any other questions as well, right now we can discuss too. Sheikh, Morata, Zuber, or Sterling for -4. So when you say Sterling for -4, do you mean dropping Zuber? Your stream is very awesome and entertaining. It's always fun discussing other teams before matches. I mean, definitely as well. And if you guys want to talk tactics as well, like, that's something I'm really down to talk about. Like, we talk about like Spain versus Switzerland, for example. Like, it's an interesting game, because I think this is one of the first games where we've seen the Spanish team play versus a back three. And usually when you play versus a back three, like Morata, like the forward's role when he plays versus a back three is to run diagonally away from the center backs and to kind of create space in behind. So if you think about, for example, let's say, like, what is a good example of that? So if you look at Lukaku versus Finland, that was what he was doing. All the counterattacks were started because Lukaku made these diagonal runs, ran onto the ball, and created space for people to run in behind. So things like that you need to think about, when you're thinking about your captain. So like, that's why I think Sarabia or Torres are interesting captains. I might go for Fran Torres as a captain. All right, I've done it, guys. Don't kill me. Kane or Immobile? I like Kane. I like Kane a lot more. I like Kane just for the reason I think he'll probably score 1 goal, and I think he also has better chances of qualifying forwards, right? Immobile and Seferovic are more likely, in my opinion, to actually drop out of the tournament today. Who to captain? Immobile, Morata, and Senior Berardi captain. I like Morata, personally. But he's a bit of a safe pick. I think Insigne is that kind of little bit of a gamble that I kind of like. You sent your team on Twitter. Let's have a look at it. All right, let's have a look at Nicholas's team. Very strong, very safe, very secure team. I really like it. Really like it. 5 English players as well. Very, very strong pick there, of course. And it makes sense as well. Maybe I would just change your captain, potentially. I really like it, though. Let's look at Gary's team. I like the English picks. Maybe change Stones for Shaw. I think Stones might have a little bit less attacking potential than Shaw. Laporte as well. Is there any reason why you've gone for Laporte over like someone like Azpilicueta and Alba? Because we already know the Spanish lineup, right? So we know Alba and Azpilicueta are going to play. Should I play with 2 defenders from England? I like 2 defenders from England. Zuber or Chiesa? Probably Chiesa. What's our Twitter at? Yeah, let me type that down. So our Twitter at is Total Tactics FB. Thank you guys for the follows, and thank you guys for the support. We just hit 100 viewers, so that's literally the first time that's ever happened. Honestly, thank you guys so much for the support. I really love providing all the kind of content and kind of interacting with you guys. So thank you everyone for being around. Let's have a look at this team. Di Lorenzo, nice pick. Ooh, very strong gamble on Italy. Was Di Lorenzo picked in the week previous, I guess? Good captain, makes sense. Only thing I'd question is maybe like, would you like to include a few more English players into the team? I think going -4 to get an English defender makes sense. Someone like Shaw who could get attacking output as well, potentially. How can I send you in my team? Hi Luis. You can send me your team just on Twitter. Just send me a DM. You can also kind of type your team out, or you can send me an email as well. So if you go on YouTube, on our channel, you go to About, you'll find our email here. So that's two ways to contact me. Belgium will, okay, let's just go back to this. All right. Joe blogs. Let's have a look. Strong team. Once again, Shaqiri as well, being that kind of differential for a lot of people. I'm a little bit worried about Schick, guys, because I feel like this Danish team is starting to build quite strongly. Maybe even a Danish forward makes sense here. Potentially Dolberg. I don't think that's crazy. Let's have a look at Josh's team. 2.6 million in the bank, saving 2.1 increase. Yeah, I think that makes sense. I completely understand wanting to switch Insigne to KDB. I really like the team, to be honest. I really like the whole Hollish pick as well. He had such a great game, didn't he? But as I was kind of arguing as well, like, it kind of played towards the way that the Dutch play, right? You have Dumfries, who plays a little bit more attacking in that three-back formation, whereas the Danish play with Mala a little bit more attacking. So that means Soufal might be a better option in terms of, running in behind and being kind of principled to start a counter. Let's look at Tassin's team. Like it. I like the Zuber pick. Is Zuber someone you've gone for due to budget? Otherwise, I think you could maybe go Seferovic and then another midfielder. That's another option too. I guess I'm not a huge fan of Schick too much right now, because I feel like Denmark's chances are starting to improve a bit more. But I think this, if you have like if you have a chip remaining, or if you have maybe Sterling on the team, I would like it slightly more. This guy's disrespectful, man. I like Grealish, so that's kind of your differential. Makes sense as well, and you're still backing England as well with 5 players. I'm liking it. I think the only question I'd say is like Laporte for attacking returns. Just a bit of a question mark there. That's all I would say. Suggestions, any changes? I like this team. 0.5 million. So you trust Lukaku to score today? You missed my chat. Let's have a look. Sorry, Ayush. All right, let's have a look at chat for a quick second. I would prefer Chiesa over Immobile, because Immobile is a bit expensive. You can kind of switch into someone else. I'll check your email in a second. Damsgaard, I really like Damsgaard. If you have Limitless and Wildcard left, use your Limitless first, and then use the Wildcard in the week after. So I would use Limitless this week, and then Wildcard next. Changing a rank immediately can include Alba if I downgrade / Insigne. Yeah, I can see Insigne running down the back line too. Maybe you could go for a cheaper Spanish defender then. I think that's the only thing I would say then. Could you not go for a cheaper Spanish defender and still keep the rest of your team? Captain Torres or Sarabia? Yeah, I know they're both starting. I kind of like Torres a bit more, but I think Sarabia is a bit of a safer pick. Shaqiri or Insigne? I like Insigne a little bit more than Shaqiri. I just think Shaqiri hasn't impressed me very much versus better teams. Let's have a look at Marco's team. Insigne and Damsgaard / Case and Zuber. I like Insigne and Damsgaard more, definitely. I like the team as well. Strong team. And thank you very much as well for the nice comments. Let's have a look at James's team really quick. Ooh, Walker as well. That's a bit of a differential for sure. Obviously, do keep in mind that when Walker plays in a back five, then it's kind of like he has like less of those attacking returns, and he's less likely going to get a set piece return as well, right? So that's the only question I'd ask. Otherwise, I think the team is quite solid. I'm sure you're just kind of adjusting a few players like on that basis. But otherwise, I do like that team. Should I put Immobile or Lukaku instead of Schick? Let me just respond to some comments as well. Suggest me goalkeeper. Pick for day 2. Unai Simon day 1. That's how I would pick goalkeepers. Schmeichel for day 2 is good as well. I don't like any of the other day 1 keepers. How many minus points did you take? I took minus 16, but as I said, basically something happened in the previous week where I wasn't able to lock in my team. So because I was away from my computer and I was on kind of family leave due to some family issues. So I dropped 8 points here, and then for that reason, I just decided to just gamble for a little bit of fun. But that's just honestly just to have some fun with the channel and our viewers. But I wouldn't recommend that, usually. I would only go -4 or -8 this week, nothing more than that. Suggest me, yeah, okay. So Schick or Dolberg, I like Dolberg a little bit more. I think he's a bit of a differential as well, and frankly, I think Dolberg will likely advance. I think Maguire can get a goal. Yes, I agree. Maguire is aerially a little bit better than Stones, but actually, if you look at the stats this year in the Premier League, Stones has scored 4 goals and Maguire has scored 2. Kane or Sterling, in my game, they're both strikers. I've taken -8 already, but do you think it's worth taking another -4 to get Shaw in for the hopes he makes the points back? You could go. Yeah, if you want to see my team, yeah, here it is. What's going on? Oh no, the website's slowing down, guys. But here's my team, if you guys wanted to look at it. You only have 8 players. Okay, yeah. I might. Okay, there could be a good chance. Yeah, I think there's a great reason there. Because if you only have 8 players playing, then yeah, it makes sense to do the -4 for sure. If you had 2 defenders from England, who would they be? I would say Shaw or Maguire. If you're going super risky, I think Trippier and Shaw would be crazy. And I think Stones is, the third best choice. But if I had to pick like defender by defender in terms of how consistent they are and how nailed on, I think Shaw isn't as nailed on as everyone else, but Shaw for me is the best, and then Maguire, then Stones. Best English defender, in my opinion, it's Shaw, because I think they're starting to build on that attack on the left. I think that the partnership between Sterling and Shaw is definitely flowing. We've also seen kind of Grealish on the left as well, and that looked really good with Shaw too. Would you go for Kane or Sterling then? I like Kane because I think it's finally a differential to Sterling. Should I change Schick to Immobile / Lukaku? I honestly don't think so. I think this is a low scoring game for Immobile, in my opinion. Lukaku, funnily, Lukaku has never ever scored versus Bonucci, and he's only scored one time versus Chiellini when Chiellini, I think they conceded a penalty as a team that he didn't earn himself. So you could argue that Lukaku will maybe struggle versus maybe the best centre-back pairing in the tournament, unless you think it's the English centre-back pairing. I'm on a wild card. Shaqiri and Stones or Keisha and Shaw. I kind of like Keisha and Shaw a bit more. I've DM'd for your opinion, mate. Let's have a look at that. And sorry, Luis, let me check your email really briefly. I like your team, Luis. I think so. Yarmolenko is your differential. I'm a bit worried because I think Yarmolenko had very few chances in the last match, and I feel like versus the English defense it'll be even tougher. So maybe why not go for someone like Kevin De Bruyne? The thing is, though, of course, you have Lukaku as well. So that's a little bit of a scary thing. But I would think about maybe changing Yarmolenko potentially. I would also maybe think about. Do you think Italy will keep a clean sheet? That's the only other question I'd have. Otherwise, I think your team's quite solid. I might change Walker as well to Maguire. That's how I would change it. Braithwaite and Zuber. What you saying? I don't like Braithwaite. I kind of like Zuber. Who would you take out between Chiesa, Insigne, and Damsgaard? Probably Chiesa. Who did you captain? I'm captaining Fran Torres. Yeah, okay, that makes sense, Lewis. That's fine, yeah. That makes complete sense. No, that makes sense. That makes sense. It is a coin toss. It is a coin toss. I actually think Courtois might be better if you can afford him. Sarabia captain, of course that's okay. That's great. I'm on a wild card. Shaqiri and Stone. Okay, sorry. I think I've responded to all the comments so far. I would go for Kane. Schick, Dolberg, Immobile. I like Dolberg actually. And Dolberg also gives you the flexibility to go into other players. Let's quickly review a few more teams. I like. Oof, tough one here. This is a very strong team, honestly. I wouldn't change anything about it. I think this is like one of the best teams possible at this stage. Yeah, fantastic limitless to me, to be honest. Maybe just change Stones for Maguire. Sounds crazy, but there's less people with Maguire and more people have Stones. So maybe it's a little bit of a differential there. Otherwise, I think it's a great team. Safe captaincy as well with Morata, but you have so many strong picks as well off the back of that. Looks good to me. Looking for a replacement for Wijnaldum. Who would you go for? To replace Wijnaldum, so you have 8.4 million. Okay. And you can't go Insigne. Yeah, that's tricky. You already have too many Italian players as well. Maybe Damsgaard, maybe Grealish. Those are the two people that come to mind right now. If you don't fancy Spanish players, because obviously everyone's going to go for Ferran Torres. Maybe if you want to kind of bypass that, you can think about someone else. I'm not a huge fan of Shaqiri versus Spain, but you know we don't know what will happen. Let's respond to James's team here. Walker. A lot of people are going for Walker. I'm not so sure about Walker, but I think the rest of the team looks really good to me. And I guess Immobile is a player you kept from the last week. Same with Berardi. It makes sense. Might be locking in a transfer for next round if he gets booked. Maguire on a yellow, so if he's booked, he misses next round. Slightly risky. That's a fair point, though. But I think like you want to play your center back pairing as much as possible. Like, you really think they'll swap back to Mings potentially for one game? I think that's always risky in an international tournament. I know Spain is actively kind of changing their center backs, but I'm not so sure about that. Torres and Morata or Kane and Sarabia. I like Kane and Sarabia personally. And this is a Spanish person telling you to go one English, one Spanish, as opposed to two Spanish. So that's my opinion. But yeah. Anyways, guys, I think I'm going to end the stream here because you only have 2 minutes to make your pick. So please make sure you have all the day one players in your team. Make sure you change the captain to a day one captain. Make sure you've done all the changes that you want. You don't want to be in a position where you're kind of ruining on missed points that you should have got anyways. But it's been lovely having you guys here. And thank you guys so much for joining the stream today. I always kind of provide kind of more longer form like YouTube videos where I analyze and dissect the games. I also provide some tactical analysis on the channel as well. Go for it. Questions, quick. You only have 2 minutes. Thank you guys as well. Honestly, from the bottom of my heart, it's really nice to see like so much support that we've had recently growing as a channel. You're 7 points ahead in your private league. Yes, come on. What's the question? But yeah, if you guys can subscribe, follow us on Twitter as well. Stay active with us. If you guys have any video ideas, if you guys want me to do anything for you guys in the future, any kind of funny video ideas, if you guys want to kind of work with the channel, if you want me to open a Discord server, that's something we're thinking about too. Let us know. Should I take a hit of Luke Shaw for Dumfries? I think so. I think Ali, that makes sense. Change my cat to Sarabia. Okay, that's a good suggestion. I'll do it if you believe. Oof. All right, let's see if that actually worked. Okay, captain saved. That's good. Let's go for Sarabia captain then. He has more touch. No, I agree. I mean, I think so. Like especially with Ferran Torres playing as a left winger, we can kind of see that Ferran Torres is playing a little bit more as a traditional winger, and Sarabia is playing almost like an inside forward, someone who gets a lot of touches. And Sarabia has been so close to goal as well. Like he could have got maybe 2 or 3 more assists in this tournament. So yeah, I mean, Sarabia was my original captaincy pick, but I think I got tempted just thinking about the way Switzerland play as well, because Mbabu pushes a bit forward, and then you have Ferran Torres on the back. Okay, everyone's locked in, guys, so good luck. Let's watch Spain. I hope Spain wins. If you guys are, if anyone here in the chat is Swiss, you know, good luck to you guys. I personally, you know, hope that this is the tournament where Spain finally redeems themselves after a lot of international upsets. But I mean, it would be a wonderful story if the Swiss qualified as well. So to everyone else as well, have a lovely weekend. Take care. Wishing you all the best, and I'll see you guys around. And if you guys have any, as I said, any video ideas, any things you guys want us to work on in the future, things to kind of upgrade and develop in the future, we'll be looking to do that. So, anyways, take care, guys, and let's enjoy another kind of great match of football, hopefully.